Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video.
All right, I need advice. I, 43 male, got married 3 years ago to my beautiful wife, Shayla, 38 female. Shayla and I met when she was at the dog park, and I happened to run by on my morning jog. We struck up a conversation, and the rest is history. I live an elite lifestyle, traveling all around the world, eating at the best restaurants, and experiencing the best that life has to offer. Shayla has the same positive attitude as me and is a great partner. I think we have a good relationship. However, I'm an international lawyer and don't always have much time at home, so our quality time together can be somewhat limited. She and I both agreed, though, when we got married, that I am not really looking for a typical marriage where we live at home together and waste away our days in mediocrity. I'm not interested in someone to just sit around the house with and watch TV, do household chores, and cook and eat meals at home with. To me, that is a boring life. We can pay people to cook and clean for us. And I don't want to watch a TV show. I want to live a life worthy of a TV show. I guess you could say I don't have a domestic bone in my body. But Shayla knew that since the moment she met me and seemed fine with it, I thought. I would say that Shayla is a little hard to understand for me because sometimes I'll call her from abroad while on a work trip and ask what she did all day, and her answer is something like, went to Target, went to the gym, and watched Netflix. To me, that sounds like a miserable weekend. She is content with just doing that, though. I have to break her out of her comfort zone to get her to do things like go out to clubs and fancy parties. She would rather sit on the couch with the dog. Just because we are older doesn't mean we need to slow down, in my opinion. Shayla also grew up without any money, so I think that is part of why she doesn't always get my lifestyle. I'm honestly embarrassed when she will do things like use a coupon because, as I'm always telling her, we don't need to do that. I have enough money that she doesn't need to be worrying about saving a penny here and there. She doesn't work either because I told her there is no point. She used to work as a nursing assistant at a retirement home making hardly any money. At one point, she told me she missed her job, and again, I couldn't understand her at all. Before she met me, I know that Shayla struggled to make ends meet. I have no idea why she isn't adapting better to our lifestyle. She told me that she wanted to start therapy since she was alone all the time when I travel for work. I was hoping it would help her, so I agreed. Then, about 2 weeks ago, I noticed that there were some pricey charges on our account. I don't care really, but I was surprised since she's normally such a cheapskate. I confronted her about it, and she said they were toys to donate to the homeless shelter for Christmas. I didn't think much of it, but put the pieces together today who they are really for. Long before I ever met Shayla, there was another man, Jonathan. Jonathan was her high school sweetheart. I had very briefly heard her talk about this man, but never asked any questions or seen any pictures of him. All that I know is that they almost got married after high school, but didn't. His family didn't approve of her or something, since she came from a poor background. Or because they were so young. I don't remember because I wasn't really listening. I completely forgot this guy existed, though. I mean, we're far from teenagers. We're two middle-aged adults. We don't really sit around talking about our high school flames. So that is why he wasn't on my mind when she told me about her new friend John that she met at church. Pretty soon, she and John were getting really close, and I'll admit, I was jealous. She would constantly be texting him and even talking on the phone late at night. When I asked her why, she told me John had just moved here and was lonely, so she was trying to help him. She said her therapist even told her that it would be good for her to make a new friend. Well, after I saw the charge for the expensive gifts, I noticed that when they arrived, she wrapped them. Usually, when you're donating gifts to the homeless shelf, you don't wrap them first. So I paid attention and noticed that she wrote two names on the gifts, Sadie and Ava. I remembered her saying that John had two daughters. That's when I started to feel like this relationship was crossing a boundary. I waited until she was asleep that night and then opened her texts with John to investigate. If you're going to lecture me about reading my wife's phone, save it. I pay the cell phone bill, so really, it's my phone. What I found in her messages with John was so shocking it almost made me throw up. Absolute love messages made it seem like these two were soulmates. I was shocked. Then, the more I read, I realized this was Jonathan from her past. I found a message that said something about how she was so glad to see the girls again and that she hoped they knew she had never stopped thinking about them and loving them. Weird. I kept reading and it suddenly dawned on me that these were somehow her children. But I couldn't make sense of it. Why would she not be with Jonathan then and raising the girls herself? What the hell was she doing married to me, keeping this all a secret? I waited until she got home and then confronted her. She admitted pretty quickly that she had been hiding her feelings for John from me. They were indeed having an emotional affair. To be honest, it is not that upsetting to me because I have had physical affairs since our marriage began that she doesn't know about. I'm not super into monogamous relationships, but I still wanted to know about the kids, and that's what I was way more upset about. What she explained to me was absolutely insane. Apparently, her and Jonathan split when they were 18 because after high school, his family pressured him to join the military and not continue a relationship with her. She then moved to the city we're in now and started working and living her adult life, but never forgot about John. Apparently, she stayed close with his sister, who later dealt in infertility problems. Shayla volunteered to donate her eggs to the sister and her husband to help them conceive. They ended up pregnant with twin girls, who they named Sadie and Ava. Sadie and Ava's parents died recently in a freak accident, and so John reached out to Shayla to let her know he was adopting the girls. That's when they rekindled their romance, and I guess they think they're going to go play happily ever after and be a family now. Obviously, I'm divorcing her. I don't think she even remembers that she signed a prenup, so she won't be getting a dime from me. I packed up all her things and left them on the front lawn and got the locks changed today while she was out grocery shopping. When she came back, she was crying and saying she's sorry and never meant to hurt me, but I didn't open the door. Now I'm trying to decide if I should take her to court and sue her for my money she has spent in the last few months while entertaining this affair with John and hiding these secret kids. I think she wants to try to get money out of this divorce to help the kids, but I'm not going to hand out money like I'm some charity for cheating wives. Tomorrow, I'm debating going and taking her cell phone and car since I paid for both. AITA in this situation? I did go take her cell phone and car today because she needs to know that I'm not playing and that she won't get a dime from me now that she's betrayed me. I told her to have fun with her boring, simple life now. She can say goodbye to all the finer things in life I showed her. There is no way Jonathan can provide the level of living as I did. She told me that money isn't what matters to her and that she just wants to feel less alone and have a true family. I told her she'll regret that one day when she never has another adventure again and is cutting coupons just to survive. I saw on social media that Shayla cut her hair and is working as a nurse assistant again. I hardly recognize her in the photo. She looked so happy. She never ended up going after any of my money after all. I guess some people really are just simple-minded and can settle for less than a great life. I'm dating a new girl that is much more my speed, though, who is a former Victoria's Secret model, and I'm pretty sure does not have a secret family she's going to leave me for. We're going to be sipping Mai Tais on the beach tomorrow, so who is the real winner here? Oh my God, man. YTA. She sort of cheated, but really, I think it's more just that she left you because you're shallow and clueless about what's meaningful in life. Maybe check out the therapist she was seeing. You need it. YTA all the way. She sounds like a selfless lady who found herself married to a rich jerk who wasn't there for her and looked down on her. You sound so condescending in your post. Newsflash, you didn't win. Throwaway. I, 28 female, have been married to my husband, Peter, 28 male, for 5 years. Shortly after getting married, we went to France, and it was such an amazing time. But that's the only time we have ever traveled. I've always wanted to go to Japan and brought it up countless times, but Peter has always been reluctant at best. He's given a couple of reasons over the years, but it being a drastically different culture than what we're used to and money have been the most reoccurring. We hadn't done much of anything due to COVID, obviously, but with places opening up and stuff, I've been asking again. He's still not sold, but he did agree to go on a trip a few weeks ago to the Packers' last game on their home field. He grew up there for a few days, and it stung that he agreed to that so easily, but is reluctant to travel with me somewhere romantic. I'll admit I got desperate and at the moment bought plane tickets to Tokyo, Japan, at the same time frame his trip was, and surprised him with it. He actually seemed interested until he learned the dates, and then said no because of his already made plans. I asked him if he was really going to choose his friends, family over an amazing time with me, and he said yes, because I was not respecting his plans and called me an AH. He left. I was and still am heartbroken, and I could not get a refund, so I took our kid and I to my parents. I'm still there now, but I let our son come back to him because school is closer to our house. But I told him I won't see or speak to him until he agrees to travel with me literally anywhere at this point. We're currently at something of an impasse. My parents are letting me stay, but are calling me a huge brat for acting like this. But do I deserve to be vilified just for wanting to do something fun as a couple? We haven't done anything in years. AIRTA here? Not necessarily TA for wanting to travel somewhere, but YTA for the extremely shitty way you are going about it. You really come across as manipulative and spiteful in this post. I don't know what you're thinking. Were you trying to guilt him with those non-refundable tickets to get him to go? It was a shitty tactic, and you're paying the price for it. And this game you're playing by refusing to come back home unless he agrees to go may very well ruin the idea of traveling together forever. Seriously, how are you two going to have any fun on a trip that he was basically forced to go on because you threatened your own marriage? Is that really what you want? YTA for spitefully purchasing tickets when you knew he had a trip already planned. Then you double down on your AH behavior by running home to your parents and giving your husband a ridiculous ultimatum that you won't even talk to him until he agrees to take you on a trip. This is not how healthy adults resolve their issues. And don't be surprised when the trip he takes you on is to Divorceville. YTA, you purposely bought tickets during his football game just to attack him. You act like going to a game and going to an entirely different country is equally easy. I'm in Disney, Florida, right now with my wife and 3 kids, and it's absolutely exhausting. We live in the US, and this trip was a huge sacrifice for time off of work, saving money, planning, packing, etc. On the other hand, I've gone to sporting events overnight, and it takes me all of 1 hour to get the tickets, book a hotel, plan, and pack for it. You're acting like going to a foreign country is not a big deal. On top of that, Japan is your dream vacation. Maybe it's not his. If I booked a trip to Russia, I love Soviet history, without telling my wife, who doesn't care one bit about Russian history, she'd kick my ass out of the house. Finally, he said the money was an issue, and he is obviously right. I can do a sporting event vacation for $500 to $1,000. A trip to a foreign country is going to hit $10,000 minimum. Your parents are right. You are being a brat and need to apologize. Our son is 4 years old and still isn't potty trained. We've been trying it for a while, but he keeps having accidents. Only number one. And if we go out, he has to wear pull-ups or it'll become a mess. Aside from this issue, his development is normal in all aspects. My wife gets really frustrated with him to an extent. I can understand her frustration, but it feels very counterproductive to get mad and punish him for something he may not be able to control. I tried suggesting a different approach, which would be to give him more reminders and not make too big of a deal if it goes wrong. She just thinks he isn't trying at all, and I shouldn't coddle him too much. I might have a different perspective because I was the same way growing up. It took me longer to be potty trained than most kids. I really was trying, but still. I've had accidents far past the age where that was acceptable. At some point, you're just forced to accept that's the way it is, and I turned out fine eventually. They never found a medical issue causing it for me, and the same goes for our son. I guess he simply got my pee your pants genes. My wife also knows this about me. When I brought it up again, she argued that my parents weren't strict at all and that their approach clearly hadn't helped me. This felt a little hurtful for obvious reasons. I said that the way she's trying to discipline our son wasn't working either, and he's only going to end up traumatized if she keeps getting so angry with him over something he can't control. She didn't like that I implied she was causing him trauma, and I'm wondering if that was too harsh of a comment. AITA? By punishing, I mean stuff like taking toys away, not watching TV, that kind of stuff. My wife just either gets hostile towards him or gives him the silent treatment, and it always ends up with him crying. He also has seen a doctor and they weren't able to find a cause. Physically, everything is normal, and since he's developing normally, they didn't feel the need to get a whole psychological evaluation. Thanks for the responses and for confirming that what my wife is doing isn't right. I'm going to try having a good conversation with her again. Side note. There was a comment referring to sensory processing disorder and another comment about not being able to register bodily signals, and something just clicked for myself. Going to try and find out if maybe both me and my son have that. NTA, my third son was like this until he was 7 or so. My husband repeatedly got angry at him and said harsh things that even now at 17 still bother him and make him feel less than. He's in therapy and starting to feel better about himself. However, I wish I had been more forceful in telling my husband to quit that shit. I eventually realized that he had an immature bladder after talking to my family members about it and finding out it was common in my family. We didn't have health insurance and couldn't afford all the testing the doctors wanted to do. He's not going to forget how his mom is making him feel about something he can't fix or control. Good for you for pointing this out to her. NTA, if you had this problem too, it's very likely that it is not a behavioral issue. And if your wife continues to treat it like one, it will at the very least damage their relationship, if not outright traumatize him. I had this problem as a child, and my 5-year-old daughter is dealing with it now. In our case, was caused by the chronic constipation. Basically, the rectum and colon stretch and start to irritate the bladder, causing it to spasm. There's good evidence that it's the most common cause of enuresis, pee accidents. But most pediatricians and even some pediatric urologists are unaware, so most kids go undiagnosed. The only way to really rule it out is with an abdominal x-ray, because even kids who poop every day can have huge amounts of stool backed up in their colon. I'd encourage you to read about it and bring it up with your pediatrician. NTA, you got over it eventually because it wasn't made into a big deal by your parents by the sounds of it. Your wife is absolutely sowing the trauma seeds right now. Bodies have so many functions that it's ridiculous to expect everything to kick in on the same timescale as everyone else. It's incredibly debilitating to put pressure on a child to make certain things happen in their own body to suit someone else's timetable. I'm actually very disturbed by her approach, and this makes me wonder how she will handle him mentally going forward into that minefield of youth and adolescence.